Are you struggling to make long-term goals happen? Have you been told you need a filter? Do you view yourself with an overcritical eye, feeling like you keep screwing up over and over again? Is it hard for you to celebrate your wins? Like they just don't bring you as much joy as you thought they would? These are all part of our executive function, specifically monitoring and self-regulation. Get ready to learn about your ADHD brain. Welcome to Motherhood and ADHD. I'm your friend, Patricia Sun. My mission is to be a lighthouse for mothers with ADHD, helping you find your path to success by learning to appreciate your ADHD as an asset. I'm seeking to change the paradigm that ADHD means your life is doomed to be a hot mess. So I'm sharing strategies and encouraging you in your pursuit of happiness to love who you are every day of your ADHD life. Hey there, successful mama. It's your friend, Patricia Sung. Before we get into our final installment of our executive functioning series, let's do a review shout out. If you're listening on iTunes, please scroll down and leave an honest review on the podcast. I love hearing about what's working for you. And anytime that you put a review in, it boosts the podcast up in the search results so that other mamas can find the podcast when they're looking for help. So thank you for doing that. This week's review is from Ariel Luana. Thank you. I don't think there's been an episode that I haven't found helpful. Great content for mamas living with ADHD. Thanks, friend. I so appreciate your encouragement and knowing that I'm not just talking in my closet by myself, which I am right now. So we are talking about executive function. We have been for the last couple of months. And why? I can't explain ADHD if I don't talk about executive function. They go hand in hand. Now, if you're not familiar with the basics of executive function, you can go back and listen to the very first episode in the series, which was 53. And we covered a whole slew of executive functions in the series. And we're wrapping up today with monitoring and self-regulation. ADHD researchers define it as, quote, impaired ability to inhibit, end quote. Dr. Russell Barkley says the term self-regulation in psychology has a relatively specific definition. While it is often considered the means by which an individual manages themselves in order to attain their goals, it can be thought of as having at least three components. Self-regulation involves 1. Any action an individual directs at themselves, so as to 2. Result in a change in their behavior from what they might otherwise have done in order to, 3, change the likelihood of a future consequence or attainment of a goal. That one just hits me right there. So the action is directed only at us. This doesn't involve other people. But our point in changing it is that we're trying to change our behavior so that we can change the likelihood of future problems or attaining a goal. So it's knowing that we're trying to make a change because we're trying to affect future self, but yet it's just not coming together. We don't have the ability to slow down and hold back so that we can act carefully and do the right thing at the right time. It makes it hard for us to read the room or read other people. We struggle to assess our own performance. And this is part of the driver in our impulsivity. We lack the brakes to slow down to make a better choice. This also links into our emotional regulation and has a lot to do with our self-image because we're struggling to change things now so that we can make a difference in the future. We have the same problem over and over again because we're not making changes that make a lasting impression, that make long-term results different. Dr. Barkley also argues that the impairment of the ability to inhibit is the primary problem of people that have ADHD. So out of all the executive functions that are impaired in the disorder, this one is affecting all of the other executive functions, like combined. Like it's like the big daddy of all the executive functions. And I'm going to paraphrase another one of my favorite ADHD gurus, Dr. Thomas Brown. He equates it to the concept of crossing the street. It's not about just stopping and not running into the street. It's also about knowing when is the right time to cross the street. Are you looking around and monitoring the traffic and seeing what else is coming so that not only are you just not stopping yourself from doing it, but then being able to make the right choice at the right time. It's coordinating so many things in our environment to make the right choice. How do we see this as an adult? I mean, obviously everywhere, but specifically we see it in anxiety and spiraling thoughts being overcritical of ourselves because we beat ourselves up for not getting it the first 43 times that we know we messed up and should have made a difference. We see that in rejection sensitivity disorder, where we take things personally and we aren't able to accurately view them and say like, yeah, that was my fault, or no, that really wasn't my fault. That's the other person's problem. We get sucked into that little gerbil wheel of spinning round and round and ruminating on something that may not actually be our fault. We can see this in talking loudly when we get excited, interrupting, being impulsive, the hyperactivity, fidgeting, low inhibition, getting ourselves into trouble. We see this in taking over conversations when we should be letting the other person contribute and we just can't help jumping in, or maybe not saying anything at all when we know we need to jump in. This also makes it hard to make friends and relate to others. Not only that our brain is constantly processing 400 things at one time, but if you're not making things different in the future, people feel like you don't care. It's harder for us to read people and read the room. And I find it interesting how sometimes we're really terrible at reading people, and then other times we're really great at reading people. And many of us are empaths, where we can feel what the other people are feeling and get exactly what it is that they're struggling with in terms of their emotions and their feelings. And I think some of it depends on whether or not we're looking for it. And some of it is just innately who we are. Mama, is your morning defined by chaos or by calm? Are you hunting down lost shoes and keys and permission slips all before the sun has even come up? Are you flying out the door, running to the car, arms full of stuff that never made it into your bag? Are you still wearing pajamas at lunchtime more days than not? No matter what stage you are in your motherhood, whether it's frenzied exiting with older kids or flopping around the house with littles, I have to ask, does your morning look like what you want it to look like? I know that you want your morning to be more together. You want less nagging, less yelling. You want less frumpy, lumpy unproductiveness. You want to feel confident in how you start your day. And you want your children to have that confidence too. So I am so excited. I am finally finished writing the Disorganized Mom's Guide to a Peaceful Morning. It's here. I put this together just for you. It's down and dirty basics to get you on your way to a better morning and fast. It's 5 quick videos straight to the point of cutting chaos. Each video is delivered to your inbox with 1 action step because I want this to be doable today. I'll be right there with you to remind you to do your baby step in case you forget and get off track. And it's totally free because I want you to take the next step in the right direction now. I want you in the Motherhood and ADHD Facebook group. You can share what's working for you and ask questions of the other mamas to brainstorm ideas if you get stuck. So hit pause right now and sign up for the video series, The Disorganized Mom's Guide to a Peaceful Morning. It's on my website, patriciasung.com/peaceful-morning. And link arms with like-minded mamas. I am so excited to see how your mornings move to a happier mama and a happier family. People will take this all kinds of ways because this is the big daddy of executive function problems. Like, it goes the whole gambit of responses. People might think that we're rude or overwhelming or crazy or mean or angry. They might feel like we're childlike and immature because we interrupt or we're fidgety or we're short-sighted, or maybe they think we're super stubborn or not very smart because we keep making the same mistakes. We're just hard-headed. But what I love about this is that when we are struggling to self-regulate, a lot of times our emotions are big. We love big. We have fun big. We go in, all in. We're enthusiastic. We have a zest for life. And if we're championing for somebody else, we're going to champion hard. We are there for them and we're blazing through like a bulldozer for that other person. Now, depending on personality, some of us are very good at making careful word choices. For me, I overthink way too much, but that does make me very good at choosing the right words to make someone feel comfortable but yet challenged. That's a gift. Other people, not me, are really good at just not worrying about what other people think of them. I haven't figured that skill out, but I do know some ADHDers who are just like, the heck with y'all, I'm going to do me. And from my connection to self-regulation, I know that when I get passionate about something, I am loud, I talk fast, I get in it. I am in it to win it. Dr. Ellen Littman talks about reward deficiency syndrome, and I'll link the article. It's called RDS for short. That has been proposed to explain why ADHD brains need stronger incentives for things. Because we have reduced dopamine running through our synapses, we need larger, more immediate, and repeated awards for things to be attractive to us. It explains why we don't always get things the first time. I also struggle big time with RSD, not to be confused with the previous RDS, Rejection Sensitivity Dysphoria, where when somebody hurts our feelings or insults us, we take it way harder than other people do. That's because our self-regulation isn't helping us say, hey, that wasn't your fault. You don't need to feel guilty over that. That's that person's problem. I learned as a kid that if I was quiet, then I couldn't be judged and I couldn't mess up and I couldn't make mistakes and people wouldn't think that I was whatever negative thing that would go along with that. But I learned as I got older that even though I was quiet, I was still being judged. I was then being judged for being too quiet, snobby, snooty, fill in some witchy words. And let's be honest, I can't control everybody else's feelings. That's not my job. So as I've gotten older and wiser, part of it is I just don't have the energy to give to other people who don't matter. I'm busy, y'all. But I, more importantly, find my value in God, not people. And even though it stings when people say mean things or are rude to me, I'm much better equipped to say, this isn't about me. I can see their hurt in their situation and why they're reacting that way to me. And that's about them, not me. And instead, I can say, I see your hurt and I'm sorry. And I'm going to give you like a big hug here, and I'm not going to take it personally. Most of the time. Sometimes it's just hard. My hacks for this, always awareness, knowing where this is repetitively hard for you. When I know the things that are going to hurt my feelings or I'm going to struggle pulling it all together, I can make a plan and be prepared, and it's more likely to go better. Maybe not super smoothly, but it'll go better for me if I know what's coming and how to be ready for it. My husband is also a really great people reader, so I use him as a guide when I'm struggling to understand reading the room and reading into like what people are saying between the lines. I can look to him and say, where are we going with this if I'm feeling clueless? I have found that generally speaking, after the fact, I can see it, but it's hard for me in the moment to pick up on subtleties. And I've had to tell my husband many times of like, please don't subtly like wink at me across the room. Like, I'm not going to pick it up. You got to come over and like touch me on the shoulder, get my attention and be like, we got to go. Because I'm not going to catch your subtle, oh, look at the time remarks. That just doesn't happen. I've also spent a lot of time in cognitive behavioral therapy, and this has significantly improved the way that I take criticism, my anxiety, my spiraling thoughts, anger management. All of that has improved through the work that I've done in CBT. So I highly recommend that for everyone. This is truly an inner work obstacle. CBT is all about sorting out what's inside of you. And if you want to learn more about what I learned in cognitive behavioral therapy, you can go back and listen to those episodes. Specifically, Letting Go of Thoughts is episode 37, and the other ones are right around that same area in where I worked through letting go of my perfectionism. There's 2 episodes on that. I really got so much out of what I did in therapy last year, and I shared it with y'all. Super vulnerable moments, but I know how much it helped me, and I want it to help you as well. So self-regulation is the beast of all executive functions. I want you to go learn about it. I'm putting the links to the articles that I talked about, the information from Dr. Brown and Dr. Barkley and Dr. Littman on the website. You can go learn more about it because this truly is the all-encompassing executive function that pulls all of them together and looks truly at the inner works of pausing, taking in the environment, and then moving forward by making a decision that takes everything else into consideration. I mean, it's almost like this executive function kind of sums up ADHD, you know? I really encourage you to learn more about it. Go to my website, click on those links. This truly affects who we are and how we make choices every moment of every day. And that's why I wanted to share about executive function with you over the last couple of months because, when we learn about our brain, man, there's so much power in that knowledge and knowing how we work and what makes us tick and what can we do differently? What can we learn? What strategies can we employ to make our lives smoother? We're not trying to change who we are, but we do want to bumper pad our weaknesses and use our strengths in the best way possible to get where we want to go. So we're finished executive function for now. I feel like this is something we're going to circle back on quite a bit because it is so all-encompassing in who we are. But for now, we're done. And I hope that you got so much out of learning about your brain, Mama. So have an amazing week, Successful Mama, and we will talk soon. Thank you for listening to Motherhood and ADHD. For more resources, head over to our website, www.motherhoodandadhd.com.